Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to Portugal's southern coast, where you'll find the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve. And this is the battleground for SKR Season 5, Round 6. Track known for its twists and turns, and of course its incredible undulation. If you are watching, if you're near a keyboard and you know what's happening with the weather, just let me know if we should be awaiting any interesting weather. We do see some very overcast conditions from this angle, so could have a interesting scenario if rain does come towards the end of qualifying. That means everybody's going to go out and do their laps right now. Need to get that first benchmark in. Of course, I don't know if it's going to rain. Seems like a relatively busy racetrack. Half the field out on an outlap, the other half remain in the pits. Obviously, the Portimão circuit was added to the calendar in 2020 as a once-off race due to the events of that year. And the FIA and F1 looking for any suitable track in Europe, and Portugal was lucky enough to get on that calendar. This track built in 2009 as a purpose-built track for Formula One. But shortly after it was constructed, talks for a Portuguese Grand Prix fell apart, and the track remained unused by F1 for another 11 years. Seems like every single driver, all 18 of them, are out on track, some on fast laps, some on out laps. But I wonder if that does mean we are getting some sort of weather, because everyone seems to be quite eager to set their first lap time of the evening. First lap time of the evening, Afro 1:16.9. Provisional pole for now. We ride with his teammate Madwell. He's on a set of mediums. Wonder if that's just wanting to keep an extra set of tires for the race. Not sure what the strategy is about with the mediums. Lots of change at the front, but so far, Afro, that lap time in another league, a 1:16.9, only driver in the 1:16s. Next best is Ultra Gamer in P2 with a 1:17.7. 8/10 of a second cover the top two. Here we have Madwell. This appears to be his fast lap. Like we said, the only driver choosing to go out on mediums. Louis has just been able to get past Ultra Gamer for that P2. Extremely close times there between second and third. Still no one really breaching or even getting close to first place. Good evening to Death Queen in the comment section. Always great to have you here. A regular viewer with SKR. Here we go, on board with Madwell. The Red Bull driver, his teammate in provisional pole. What can he do? There we go, it's good enough for P2. And that's the closest threat Afro has had this evening, and it's his own teammate. And as we say that, Ulrich, commentator's curse, 117.0 splits the Red Bulls and puts the Alfa Romeo up onto the front row. Here we have Madwell. It's not Madwell, my apologies, it's Mr. M. That was obviously an abandoned lap, a 145.6, so he's going to have another go at it now. Not an easy circuit. It's got some high-speed corners, and then it's got some heavy braking into some slow-speed corners where traction is absolutely crucial. And if you get it wrong, it leads off onto these very fast bits of the circuit, and just one traction point can really mess up your lap. Speaking of traction points, the exit to that hairpin, one of the most important parts of the circuit, can mess up a lap in no time. Riding with Mr. M, and he's just gone purple in sector 2. I think this is going to be an interesting lap time to watch. Provisional pole so far, a 116.9. See what Mr. M can come up with on this initial timed run of his. There we go, good enough for P4, 117.6. It's quickest in sector 2. So that'll give him some relief to know that his sector 2 is perfect. Just needs to work on the other parts of the track. Takeaway comes into the pits. Divan is on an out lap. Andre is on a fast lap, and he's just gone purple in sector 2. Looking to get his McLaren higher up the field. And now Andre up the hill, activates DRS over the line, P4, 117.5. Here is Ultra Gamer, currently P7. Best lap of a 117.7, and I don't know if he heard me commentating on him and he didn't like it, but he just got the car a little out of shape there. Hopefully didn't lose too much time. Looking to get the Haas further up the field. His teammate is further up the field in P5. Mr. M was good enough for P4 when he went over the line, then immediately demoted by Andre. Right on board the Alpha Tauri of, I was just about to say, we ride on board the Alpha Tower of Apmagosi. I wonder if he was listening to me, because as I said that, he backed off the power. Ultra Gamer over the line, 116.9. Second 116.9 of the evening. And look at that. Wow, that is extremely close. Your front row covered by 16 thousandths of a second. remarkably close lap times here by your top two. Now Ulrich, he wants to get himself back into the top two. He's starting a new fast lap into turn one. He goes. Currently a 1:17.0 is his best time, so he wouldn't need to find much. He could put himself in first with just a 10. Madwell though, he's on a fast lap too, 1:17.1 his best time. Currently P4, he's gone purple in sector 1, so this is a lap to watch. He's in the middle of sector 2 now. Crucial part of the racetrack this. Got to get the entry to that corner right. Madwell went purple in sector 1, he went purple in sector 2. And now, with just the final meters to go, let's see what he can come up with. Current best of 1:17.1. Does he improve? Yes, he does. And not only does he improve, wow, that is a 1:16.1, and that is 8/10 superior to anything else on our timing screens. See, a few people are watching. Don't forget to leave a like on the channel, and if you haven't already subscribed to SKR, hit that subscribe button. Remember, just a short quali session, no full quali this time around, so you just got the 18 minutes to go out there and do the best you can. From those 18 minutes, we have 5.5 minutes remaining. Top Gun, currently in P9, he comes into the pits. Here we go with Andre. Ooh, I think that lap, if that was a push lap, it might have just been invalidated. Still seems to be pushing. I don't think that lap was invalidated, but he was lucky. It was only just, if that's the case. Still seems to be pushing. Wasn't too far off his previous best in sector 1, so should be able to improve with this lap. Let's ride trackside with Andre in the McLaren, currently P7. 1:17.5. See, like I mentioned earlier, just the one race here at Portimão, so not too much history we can dig into on this circuit, just the one race in 2020. But if you're speaking about the Portuguese Grand Prix in general, there's lots of history we can pick through. Obviously the previous venue to the Portuguese Grand Prix was just up the road from this track. About an hour's drive to Estoril. Estoril, home to Ayrton Senna's very first victory. The second Alfa Romeo, P13 at the moment. Visor looking to get closer to his teammate up the field there in the second row. Currently Ulrich P4. From the top three, all three are sitting in the pits, so my worries of rain at the beginning of the session do not seem to be coming true. Just some dodgy looking clouds and nothing more. Take away into the pits. Visor goes over the line. He is able to improve. It's a 17.8. That'll take him up to P11. Apmagozi has since retired from the session. I believe that is quite a usual strategy from him. He goes out, does a lap time, and says, right, that's it. That's where I'll be starting from. Up the field, we were riding with the one Alfa Romeo that was Visor. Now we're riding with the other Alfa Romeo, currently in P4. Ulrich. He's got a 117 flat, and not so long ago, that was an extremely competitive lap time on the night. But since then, the Red Bull driver Madwell has gone over the line and basically just cracked everything wide open. 0.8 of a second cover the front row. There's nothing close about that. See if Ulrich is able to pull anything more out of his pocket. 117.0. He's going to have to find just a tenth. Can put him in P2. But he's going to have to find so much more to get himself into P1. He's pulled out of that. He's into the pits. Another thing we haven't spoke about tonight. This race circuit in particular. It's going to be extremely crucial to stay out of the penalties column. So easy to run wide on some of these corners. Track just doesn't quite feel wide enough, and in some places just run wide over the white lines. Remember, you get 3 warnings, then you get that 3-second penalty, and if you keep up the habit, those 3-second penalties can become a serious handicap at the end of the race. Also, remember, Portimão is not on the calendar, so guys probably haven't practiced this much track as much as other circuits. May see a few mistakes tonight from the drivers we don't usually see mistakes from. Just one of the lesser used circuits on the game, and we might see evidence of that creep in tonight. Now Pantry Star up the hill over the line does improve, but not by much. Stays P5. Afro, the second Red Bull, he's just gone purple in sector 2. Let's keep our eyes on this lap time. Afro will be the first Red Bull over the line, then Mad will come over the line right behind him. Let's see what Afro can do. He's going to go up the hill any moment now. There we go. Activates DRS and over the line. It's good enough for P2. It's a 116.5. And Madwell to rub the salt into the wounds. Well, his teammate got closer and he said, well, look at this then. Afro would have been happy, got so much closer to his teammate, 116.5. Then his teammate, just a few meters down the road, went over the line a few seconds later and did a 115.8. Just one driver in the 115s, just 2 drivers in the 116s. And then the rest of your field, pretty much, what is that, from P4 to P15, all in the 117s. So we're in for a tight race. I think that shows us an extremely close midfield. Could have the 2 Red Bulls, one in particular running away with it, if that pace translates to race pace. And also remember, a race isn't usually as simple as you think it will be on paper. Safety car early on, or a safety car very late in the race when you've got One too many penalties next to your name can change everything. I think we will see safety cars tonight. So that superior pace is not necessarily guaranteeing you a victory, because you're not going to be able to drive off into the distance if we have safety cars. Well, there are your results. Madwell, he took pole position with a 1:15.8, and what a lap time it was. Then his teammate in P2, Afro, the two Red Bulls, they make up the front row. Then we've got Ultra Gamer P3, Ulrich P4, Pantry Star P5, Mr. Rem P6, Louis P7, Virus in P8, Chums and Andre making up the top 10 in P9 and 10. Then outside the top 10, Divan in P11, Fricky P12, Takeaway 13, Top Gun 14, Visor 15, Dixie Killer 16, Harsh Cartoon 17, and Apmagozi makes up your field in P18. I do commentate on a few leagues, so I do forget, but if I'm not mistaken, this is SKR, where we have a 5-minute break prior to the start of the race. Remember, that allows all the drivers an opportunity to select their strategy, make any setup changes that they can make under Parc Fermé if they feel it's necessary, and maybe to get one last sip of their drink. As mentioned earlier, Portugal, the venue for Ayrton Senna's first victory in Formula One. At that same circuit, Michael Schumacher won his first race for Ferrari. And then in 2020, at the one and only Grand Prix at this very circuit, Lewis Hamilton obviously won his 92nd Grand Prix, surpassing Michael Schumacher's previous record of 91 Grand Prix victories. Obviously that record under threat again by a certain 26-year-old who's on 50 victories already. Let that sink in. Max Verstappen is 26 years old. He may have made his debut at Toro Rosso at the age of 17. But the first time he ever tested a Toro Rosso, he was 16. So at the age of 26, he's been in control of Formula One cars for a decade. If you've just joined us, obviously this is just the short period in between qualifying and the race, a short break for everybody to get ready, and we should be underway at 8:35. It's a 4.6 kilometer circuit, pretty average size for a circuit, not too short, not too long. Total of 15 corners, 9 to the left, 6 to the right, with a massive elevation change of approximately 92 meters. There's your red lights. Well, there were your red lights. We're underway. Red Bull from Red Bull into turn 1. Which one will it be? Madwell leads the way. Afro P2. Haas slots into P3. That's Ultra Gamer. P4. I seem to be missing something. There we go. Already a lead. Madwell leads from Afro a second. That gap. Ultra Gamer. First of the Ferrari powered cars. Seems like the Ferraris are behind all the Ferrari powered cars. Sure, Guthrie Steiner would love to have a weekend where the pair of his cars went on to beat the Ferraris. End of lap 1, Madwell leads the way. And that pace from qualifying, we asked earlier if you thought that pace was going to translate into the race. And so far, it most definitely is. Just opening up a gap, 1.8 seconds down to his teammate already. His teammate hasn't been able to open the same sort of gap. He's got Ulrich all over the back of him, trying to take that P2 away, trying to break up Red Bull's party somewhat. Ulrich, although under pressure of his own, he has Ultra Gamer all over the back of him. Really long potential DRS train. No DRS just yet. We're on lap 2 of 33. DRS will come in the next lap. And then we should be starting to see more position changes. Just some contact there between Fricky and what appeared to be Chums. No visible damage for either car. Fricky just losing a bit of momentum, had to get going again and lost 2 positions. Fricky down to P10. And another lap, lap 3 now of 33. Madwell still leads the way, 2.7 seconds is the gap. And everybody else in the field is going to have to hope for safety cars to reel this driver back into the field. 3-second gap on lap 3. Further back in the field, Ultra Gamer P4, Pantry Star P5, here's Mr. Rem in P6. Right trackside with the Haas driver in what's going to become a DRS train shortly. Problem with the DRS train, it effectively cancels out your DRS. So making a move requires some bravery. Afro, we just saw the Red Bull facing the wrong direction. He's getting underway again. We're having a look at the car to see if we can see any visible damage. We don't see any visible damage. Maybe that was just a spin. But Afro will be disappointed. He's all the way down in P16. And his teammate continues at the front. Madwell, 6.1 seconds is the lead. Ultra Gamer promoted now up into P2 as a result of that second Red Bull losing it. Pantry Star up into P3, then the second Haas of Mr. Rem. Louis in P5. Those cars all close together. Then we've got a little bit of a gap. We've got Chums, and Chums is leading a DRS train of his own. In that DRS train we have Divan, Fricky, Andre, Top Gun and Ulrich. Effectively 3 separate DRS trains out on track. But one man who has no interest in DRS trains tonight. He's in a class of his own. 7.4 seconds now the lead. Still a long way to go. First might look done and dusted for the time being, but P2 is far from done and dusted. Now Pantry Star, making use of DRS, gets himself up into P2 and demotes Ultra Gamer into P3, where he will now come into the reaches of his teammate. Two horse drivers together in P3 and 4. Top McLaren on the night is Louis, P5. His teammate Andre, not too far behind, P9. First of the two Ferraris, Divan, he's in P6. Flying the flag for the Scuderia. Further down the field in P12 we have Visor. We actually have the two Vs. Visor leads from Virus. Just half a second in that battle, nothing in it. Then we get the other Alfa Romeo, which appears to be ghosting. That car will quickly fall down the field if its driver doesn't come back and retake control of it. Here's a man on a mission, a man on a recovery drive, Afro. He was in P2, he was firmly in P2 in qualifying. In the first few laps of this race in P2 was coming under pressure from a Haas. I believe that was Ultra Gamer. But then unfortunately off screen, off camera, we weren't able to see it. We just saw the result of it. We saw him facing the wrong way. Don't know if there was contact, don't know if there was just a spin all on his own. The pressure got too much, whatever the case may be. By the time he got going again, he found himself in P16, and now he's made up 2 positions already, up into P14. And the recovery drive continues. Up at the front, must be lonely. Doesn't this look lonely? Looks like you're all by yourself in time trial, and there's no one else out on track. Madwell leads the way. No mistakes from him so far. 11.5 seconds is the gap. Pantry Star P2, followed closely by Mr. M. Louis has got himself up into P4 and split the Haas. Ultra Gamer down to P5. He was high up as P2 earlier on. Fricky P6, but now coming under heavy pressure. Lots of action behind him. 1, 2, 3, 4 cars, all shuffling for position. Another thing about this DRS trains I mentioned earlier, they can basically just effectively cancel each other's DRS out. Means you need to be bold when it comes to making a move. Can't rely on the DRS. And sometimes, lap after lap, just stuck in that DRS, frustration builds. And eventually the late lunge comes. Everybody slowed down, and for a second I thought we were under safety car. But we're under virtual safety car. Don't see any cars stationary on track, so I think we will go to green flag rather than a full safety car. The Red Bull driver out front will be hoping it's not a full safety car, because he wants to hold on to this benefit he's built up. Remember, the virtual safety car means everybody has to slow down to an average speed. But sometimes if you're caught napping, you'll find that gap was a lot bigger than it was going into the virtual safety car. We are under green flag, and off we go. And that was just what I was talking about, getting caught napping. Madwell going into this virtual safety car was 19 seconds ahead. Coming out of the virtual safety car, he's only 13 seconds ahead. So your leader effectively lost 6 seconds in the virtual safety car. That doesn't sound right. I had to actually go and check if you made a pit stop. Thing with virtual safety car, if you're not on the very edge of that delta, you can really cost yourself a lot of time. Now Pantry Star, who took P2 recently, now comes under pressure from Mr. M. And Mr. M gets the move done before they even get to turn 1. Your new order, Mr. M P2, Pantry Star P3. But Louis and Ultra Gamer are still there. Still so many drivers that can finish in P2 here. P1 far up the road, but mistakes can happen quickly. Mentioned earlier, keeping that penalties column clean will be crucial. And so far everybody's done a really good job of that. Just the one penalty allocation going to Harsh Cartoon in the Alpine, and that is a track limits violation, 3 seconds to Harsh Cartoon, but that is the only penalty on track on lap 10 of 33. So not only here at SKR do we have fast driving, we have disciplined driving. Staying within those white lines at probably one of the most difficult circuits to do so. Actually one of the wider circuits on the calendar. But in its high-speed sections, it gives you the impression that it's a very narrow circuit, but it's really not. So next time you understeer, remember that you couldn't make a corner that was 15 meters wide. Top 3 on Madwell, Mr. M and Pantry Star. Pantry Star still fighting for P2, still within DRS. He opens up DRS, but he's not going to be close enough this time around, and the Haas is going to be able to hold on to P2. Speaking of Haas, here's another one also looking for position, putting pressure on the McLaren ahead of him. Both Haas drivers looking for a strong result tonight. There's Top Gun getting it sideways. Manages to save that car. Didn't look good for a few moments there. And remember the second Red Bull. We haven't forgotten about the second Red Bull. He was up in P2. Just looking at a strong race. Had an off-track excursion, which meant he went right to the back of the field. P16 to be exact. He has since made up 6 positions. And he's back up into P10. But he'll be looking to make a lot more progress before the end of this race. Haas in P2 now has broken the DRS, so Pantry Star is going to have a little bit more difficult of a time trying to keep up. When you're in that DRS section, the car ahead of you can just sort of tow you along a little bit. So even if you are 2 or 3 tenths slower than the car ahead of you, DRS effectively cancels that 2 or 3 tenths out. But the moment you fall out of DRS, if you are 2 or 3 tenths off, you're going to feel it every single lap time. And every single time you go around and you see that car a little further down the road, it becomes that much more difficult. But Pantry Star is responding, he is fighting back, he knows he needs to stay within DRS, or Mr. M will just run down the road as the Red Bull ahead of him has. Needs to stay within DRS, so crucially within 9 tenths. Just popping in and out, 9 tenths, 1 second, 9 tenths, 1 second. So important to keep it at 9 tenths before you get up onto the straight. And there we go, he's actually just lost the 9 tenths just before DRS activation. And that hurts so much, 1.1 seconds the gap. And while he's desperately trying to get into DRS, he's trying to get the car behind him out of DRS. Not enough to just concentrate on the one thing. These guys need to concentrate on multiple things while driving at high speed, pushing this car to its limit. Still need to be thinking all the time. DRS train has reformed again. Mr. M, P2, DRS train all the way down to his teammate in P5, Ultra Gamer. So 4 cars potentially fighting now for P2. As for the second Red Bull, he's trying to make his way up the field. Still in P10. Have a handful of drivers already that have made a pit stop. That's Divan, Virus, Chums, Apmagozi and Harsh Cartoon. They've all made one stop. And as far as the tyre situation goes, well, there we go. Top Gun, he's coming into the pits. Chums has left the session. Hopefully he can regain control of his car. There we have a pit stop for Top Gun. Pushing the trigger early. Rest of the cars on medium still out there. Remember, this is a 33 lap race. Wonder what the strategy is here. Madwell on a set of mediums. Mr. Rem also on a set of mediums. Both 13 laps old. The man down in P3, Pantry Star, same age of tyres, 13 laps old, but different compound. He's on the soft. It's going to be important to watch how far can Pantry Star go into this race, how far can he stretch that tyre. That information is going to be crucial to everyone who's on a set of mediums. Because if you know how far that soft can go, you know how far you need to stretch the medium. If you're trying to stay away from that hard compound tonight. Many drivers not too fond of the white wall tyre. Ferrari of Divan looking to make a position up into the top 10. It's going to be very close. He should have DRS now going up onto the straight. He's already side by side before opening up DRS, so shouldn't have any issues there. Didn't have much battery left, so made it difficult for himself. But Van up into P9. Problem for him now, he has no battery. It's going to be very difficult to defend into the next few corners. Not quite sure why I'm getting invites, but somebody just sent me an invite. I believe I am here. Madwell leads the way. 27 seconds. I predicted that a safety car wouldn't let things get too out of hand in terms of the size of the gaps, but we haven't had a full safety car. We still have 18 runners. Of the 18 that started, 1 or 2 may be ghosting, but no retirements to speak of. A few laps ago on lap 10 I was speaking about the discipline, the lack of penalties on our screens, and how things have changed in just a matter of laps. Last time we spoke about penalties, Harsh Cartoon was the only man in the field with a penalty. He had 3 seconds to his name. Everyone else was in the clear. Since then, Harsh Cartoon has racked up the penalties from 3 seconds up to 9. And now Takeaway, Fricky, Divan and Chums all have a 3-second penalty of their own. No change at the front. Mr. Rem in P2, but that P2 far from confirmed. Remember, we're still waiting for that crucial pit window. For the time being, top 3 all remain out. Should I say your top 5 all remain out? In that top 5, Madwell, Mr. Rem, Louis, that's the top 3 all on mediums. Then your next 3 cars, Ultra Gamer, Andre and Afro, all on hards. So within your first, or rather your top 6 cars, we have 3 on hards, 3 on mediums. 2 different strategies cover the top 6. Unless something crazy happens, I think Mr. Madwell has this P1 wrapped up. But as for that top 6, anyone in that top 6, P2 is still very, very doable. Just going to try and send an invite out if I can to one of our drivers that has been disconnected. Unfortunately, I don't think I've got his name here. Apologies to Ulrich. I did have a look. I don't have you on my list. Unless your name is something else on the EA friends, let me know. And I'll try and help you get back into the lobby, but I don't seem to have your name there. Still no movement from the top 5 as far as pit stops go. Top 5 still on the tyre set they chose to start the race with. And if you take the pace of the leader, those mediums are still working at lap 18. Now we follow the McLaren, and now P2 McLaren into the pits. Louis, Ultra Gamer, retakes P2. Let's see a few changes of position now as pit stops start coming into play. Ultra Gamer and Andre now P2 and P3 as they have not stopped. Remember, they started on the hard. looking to go a little deeper into the race than everyone else on mediums. But Madwell so far has matched them. He's done 18 laps on his mediums. The only other man on circuit to have done 18 laps on a medium set of tyres is Fricky. And his car does seem a little squirmy. Wonder if those mediums now reaching the end of their life. Speaking of your leader, it's Madwell. But we don't need to follow him. He's in the pits. He's going to come out in the lead. He had a massive lead at the start of that pit stop. So there will be no change for the lead. Ultra Gamer and Andre are the next two cars we need to watch. Remember, they started on the hard compound, and there we go. Ultra Gamer reacts. He comes into the pits. Remember now, not long to go in the race, so everybody can just throw on a set of softs and go to the end. And I'm sure Ultra Gamer will be doing the same thing. Seems like Ultra Gamer onto a set of mediums. Andre also onto a set of mediums. Wonder if they just didn't have a soft compound for the race. Just 13 laps to the end of the race. Maybe that's a little bit too much to ask for from the medium compound. We knew that the pit stops would shake things up, but they've also somewhat broken our DRS train. Now the DRS train is for P5, rather P4. Ultra Gamer defending from Pantry Star, Fricky, Divan, and Louis. Harsh Cartoon picking up another 3-second time penalty. Up to 12 now. I've mentioned it before in my streams, that sometimes it's even worth it to drive a little within yourself, even if you're going 2 or 3 tenths slower a lap. If you can manage to stay within those white lines, because every single time you get a 3-second penalty, all that extra time you were making up by getting as close to the lines as you possibly could, all that time just disappears under a 3-second time penalty. All the time you make up driving on the absolute edge, only to lose it. Just like that, a fastest lap of the race, and that's probably faster than I can go in qualifying. It's a 1:17.7. Madwell sets the fastest lap of the race on that brand new set of soft tires. Let me just see if I can find Ulrich's name here. Didn't see it the first time. And there we go, hopefully that should work. At the front, Madwell, 36 seconds. The only thing that can make this race for a victory is a safety car. And as time goes on, the likelihood of that safety car diminishes lap by lap. This is Ulrich, or at least the ghost car of Ulrich. hoping he can make his way back. Still have 10 laps to go in this race, and so much can happen in 10 laps. So many times you think you've got a race all sewn up, and an error comes from nowhere. It can really ruin your evening. None of that for Madwell at the moment. 39 seconds is the gap. A Max Verstappen type gap for the Red Bull. Ultra Gamer P3, Mr. M P4, good night for Haas. So far, if things were to end now, Pantry Star wants to ruin that. He's in P5, Louis P6. Down from P2 to P6, all relatively close together. And do we have a ghosting car? We do. We've got a ghosting car. Who is that? Didn't see who that was, but we had a ghosting car. I think that's just Ulrich's Alfa Romeo at the back of the field. Got worried there. Thought someone in this top 6 had started ghosting. This is Ultra Gamer. He's currently in P3, going up into P2, and as easy as you like, gets the move done before even getting to the corner. But for how much longer will he be able to hold it? Because now we switch back to Top Gun, who's now in P3, and this time he gets DRS. Second DRS, so not as long as the first one, so doesn't get an opportunity to come straight back at the Haas. His next target will be to stay as close to that Haas as he possibly can. We have a car there on the outside, doesn't appear to be one of the leaders. Ooh, and there we go. Just like that. That's how easy it is. Just get a bit greedy on the throttle. Exit of a slow corner. Want to get going. Want to get on that straight. Want to get closer to that car in front of you. I'm just a little too eager. Alfa Romeo getting out of shape there. On what can't be described as the freshest mediums out on circuit. Wonder if those mediums will come back to bite him at the end of the race. We have, I believe that's Chums. Another ghost car of a Williams. Just getting out of the way. Madwell still leads the way. Ultra Gamer still in P2. Top Gun was not able to fight back. Remember, he just had that little moment, and that cost him approximately a second. So he's fallen out of the crucial DRS range. Mr. Rem going past a ghosting Alpha Tauri of Apmagozi. And what can we say about this man here? As much as you can say his teammates had an amazing drive, this bloke here went from P2 to P16. Somehow he's found his way back up into P5. And you know, he's not that far from the podium. What a recovery drive that would be. A little further back in the field, but another team getting double points tonight. Louis and Andre, P7, P8. Good result so far. And they'll also have Pantry Star and Top Gun ahead of them that are on slightly aging mediums. So towards the end of this race, they might still be able to steal a position or two on superior rubber. Ooh, somebody has disconnected, and we've had a Oh no, somebody else is disconnected. Hopefully it just stays at the 2 when you see that message popping up 5, 10, 15 times, then you know there's something very broken in the lobby. But luckily for us, it was just those 2. Harsh got 2 disqualified from the session. Well, that's an interesting one. Harsh got 2 disqualified from the session for driving the wrong way. Obviously, he had already stacked up quite the number of penalties. And the disqualification, probably just a result of frustration. It's almost like the more penalties you get, the more mistakes you make. Because you're trying to avoid those penalties, your concentration isn't on what it should be. And then the mistakes just keep on creeping in. Ayrton Senna once said that the only 2 things you should be thinking about when driving a Formula 1 car is where's your next braking point and where's your next apex. And once you go through that apex, well, you basically start at step 1 again. Braking point, apex. Braking point, apex. That should be the only thing on your mind. Ultra Gamer now sitting quite comfortable in P2. He's got a 2.6 second gap, and look to who it is. It's to Afro, the second Red Bull. Remember, Afro was just ahead of Ultra Gamer when he had that off that sent him to the back of the field, and now he finds himself closing up on that very same horse. Really makes you think what could have been for both the Red Bulls had that mistake not happened early on. Mr. M going down a position, Louis going up a position, Louis up into P5, and the McLaren's on the move late on in this race. Louis is now 3.8 seconds adrift from Top Gun. We have a horse going sideways. Terrible camera angle, we can't see the horse. Where is the horse? There's the horse. Where the horse going sideways ever so briefly. Mr. M now demoted down to P8. I was just mentioning earlier that Louis got himself into P5. The next car ahead of him is Top Gun, 1.9 seconds up the road. The benefit is Top Gun is on a softer but much older set of tyres, so Louis could still come back and steal a 4th place. As for the second Red Bull, still trying to get himself closer to Ultra Gamer, but the laps are running out, the tarmac is running out, not much longer to go. Afro 1.3 seconds adrift from Ultra Gamer. Next target will be to get himself within DRS, and that's when he can start really mounting a challenge for that pass. Reminder, we did not see that incident, so we don't know what happened to Afro. May have just been a spin all on his own, may have been the slightest tap from the horse that was behind him at the time. We don't know. If the latter is the case, this could be interesting when he catches back up to the car that started the problems. But obviously we don't know that. We'll find out a little bit later, I'm sure, in the chat. Dixie Killer not having the best time. This cross-play issue we are having in our lobbies is really a big problem for the leagues. Do you switch it on? Do you switch it off? Really difficult situation, and wish they could just get it sorted out. Madwell leads, and now he's coming up to lap a whole handful of cars. His teammate, though, has not given up on a Red Bull 1-2. And while his teammate's been having probably one of his most boring races out front, looking like he's having a private time trial session, he's 52 seconds up the road. It's been a very, very, very different race for his teammate. His teammate down to P16. And somehow he's made it all the way back up into P3 and is effectively fighting for P2. And as we say that, he opens up DRS, pulls alongside the Haas, and there shouldn't be any question. Easily done. Afro up into P2. He had that spin on lap 2 or 3. He's made it back to P2 with 2 or 3 laps remaining in the race. How much work one spin can give you. We now look through the field for any potential battles in the closing stages of the race. Louis has closed up to Pantry Star, and he should have the superior compound of tyres, so I think Louis will go up into P5. As for P2, it's not yet confirmed. Afro hasn't exactly passed the horse and ran away up the road. He's still half a second up the road and within DRS. So P2 far from confirmed. And now Louis has just crucially dropped out of that DRS zone from Pantry Star. Just 2 laps to go. You need to stay within that DRS if you have any hope. Just some acknowledgement there from Death Queen in the comment section. Afro, what a drive. Madwell may be leading this race by, well, let's call it what it is. He's leading the race by just under a minute. But his teammate has had just as a impressive drive. He may be 50 seconds down the road from Madwell. But remember, he came out in P16. He's had to drive through an incredibly competitive field. He's had to stretch his tires so that he could do a one-stop. It couldn't have been an easy situation, and he's held everything together and gotten himself up into P2. And it looks like that's where he's going to finish. We're on the final lap. And unfortunately, there are no real battles to speak of on track. The only cars that are relatively close together are the 2 McLarens, and I don't think we'll see the teammates attack each other with a few corners to go. It seems like some teams are really going to profit from this race. P1, P2, Red Bull, P3 and P8 for Haas, P6 and 7 for McLaren, P4 and 5 for Aston Martin. Over the line, Madwell wins the race. Very nicely done. He goes over the line 55 seconds ahead of the man in P2, who's currently entering Sector 2 as we speak. I don't think I've ever seen somebody win by a margin like that. And I think because I haven't seen a race without a safety car in a very long time. Of course, if we've got a safety car halfway through the race or late in the race, you wouldn't be able to build a 55-second gap up from that point. But remember, no safety cars in this race, just that brief virtual safety car. And remember, Madwell lost 6 seconds on that virtual safety car, so he could have won the race by a minute. Now we get the rest of the runners coming over the line. We're not going to read them out right now because some of them have penalties and I'm sure things are going to switch around. Just going to wait for those official results. So there we have it, folks. Round 6. Driver of the day, Top Gun. And now we just await those official results. There we go, there are your official results. Rebel 1-2, Madwell. What dominance it was tonight. Wins the race by 56 seconds from his teammate Afro, who had an impressive drive of his own, had to come from the back of the field with one heck of a recovery drive. Then Ultra Gamer, he was in the top 3 throughout the race. He finishes P3. Then we have the pair of Aston Martins in P4 and 5. That's Top Gun and Pantry Star. Then Louis and Andre, P6 and 7 for McLaren. The second horse of Mr. M in P8. Then we have the first of the Ferraris, P9. Takeaway, Fricky P10 for Mercedes. Then missing out on a top 10 position tonight, Divan P11, Pfizer 12, Dixie Killer 13, Chums 14, Apmagozi 15, Ulrich 16, and a DNF from Virus and a disqualification for Harsh Cartoon. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. It was round 5, shall I say season 5, round 6 here in Portimão, Portugal. We will be back next week Sunday, either at 6 or either at 8. We'll let you know. We'll see you then. And before we go, of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Leave a like on the video, and we'll be back next week. See you then.